Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Ande Yung and Suzy Mazzarese-Allison, the hair and makeup team behind Dickinson Season 2, which is on Apple TV Plus right now. It's a great season. And I guess you guys both worked on Season 1 and then obviously Season 2. Can you talk a little about, I guess, how you wanted to evolve the hair and makeup between, into Season 2 and what your kind of like thoughts were about that as the characters kind of grew and evolved as well? I guess, Suzy, you could start and then we can talk to you.
Well, it was a little bit simpler in Season 1 for me, and Season 2 became much more elaborate because of all Sue's parlors and more extravagant hair. And same with the makeup as well. And we had that big opera, which we always talk about on all these interviews we do. It was an amazing job. We collaborated very well together. And Ande, take it away. She's a little better at this than me.
Well, I think in Season 1, it was a little bit more of an introduction into the world. So there was a cleanliness, there was a cleanness. It was simple. It was getting to the root of all of our characters' stories. And then in Season 2, there was a lot of richness. I feel like the sets, the wardrobe, the hair, the makeup started to lend itself to a bit more of a rich palette. So we got to play with that with the hair and makeup. I really got to have some fun, especially with the opera episode where we got to play, we got to add a little bit more. We got to just collaborate so that everything looked cohesive and beautiful. And I think we just really stepped it up a notch in the second season.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. I would love that opera episode. I believe is episode 6. It's a great episode for those who haven't seen the show. And it's a big, elaborate kind of thing. I guess, can you talk about maybe the specifics of having to execute that and what you were looking for there, Ande, with the makeup and stuff, especially. Yeah.
Sure. Well, the beautiful thing is it was a performance, right? It's the opera. So we were able to do a performance level of makeup, but there's so many intricacies, yes, designing the makeup for the lead soprano, which was so much fun. Doing a lot of historical reference, a lot of research, speaking with a lot of the veterans who work at the Metropolitan Opera. So I could pull inspiration and really working it into a stage makeup that could have been possible back in the 1800s. And then there were just so many beautiful moments with Suzy with the hair. And then with the wardrobe, she can tell you all about the cool things that happened there. But with the wardrobe too, was so rich and beautiful. It was just so nice to be able to work with a really gorgeous palette.
Yeah, I feel like we really stepped up the plate that episode. It was much huge teams, took a lot of work, a lot more hair, a lot more wigs. It just stepped it up to a different level. So yes.
When you guys are doing that, and you just mentioned too, the specificity of the period, I guess, because the thing I like about the show is that it obviously is like a period piece, but there is such a modern flair to it. So how do you balance making it feel modern with the specificity of the period, I guess, and for both for the hair and the makeup as well? I mean, how do you guys think about that when you're doing this?
My take is always to use what they would have had palette-wise, color-wise in the period, and then stretching it in little ways to make it more modern. What helps so much is the music, the soundtrack, the language. That's what really helps, I think, push it into the modern realm. And I don't want to distract from that as with the makeup. So what I really try and do is stick to the palette they would have had, and then take little inspirations, like with the eyes for the lead soprano. We stretched it out a little bit, but that could have been done because that was a legitimate stage practice. We did pink on the inner corner of her eyes. That was something to make the eyes look bigger. These are all things that they could have done back in the day, but we took a little creative license and said, could this have happened? Yes. Are there pictures of it? No. So we're going to say, yes, this is what happened, and that's so much fun.
Yeah. And for the hair, the same thing. Basically, we took the silhouette of the period of the Victorian ladies with the center parts and, the low buns, but in the opera scheme, we elaborated with curls and tortoise combs and also too, we also use regular real today curling irons. Sometimes the background use Marcel Evans, but in the trailer, we use more contemporary use to create the silhouette of the 1850s, bring it into more contemporary. So softening everything up, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, no, it really does. Suzy, I know you've done a lot of period pieces. I guess what do you like? What do you like about doing? What do you enjoy about doing period pieces?
I love just doing hair. Period. So,
yeah.
contemporary or period or whatever. What I find so interesting is I have a huge theater background. I've done over 25 Broadway shows. And so to bring it to film or to television, you have to soften the lines up a little bit. It can't be as big and huge, but for the opera episode, we were able to just make it a little bit bigger. So for me, that was just so much fun. So much fun.
Great.
Yeah.
I guess, can you talk a little about the both of you, how you guys work together and like how much of it is a collaboration on making sure like the makeup and the hair kind of goes in lockstep, I guess, because it's such a, when people talk about like hair makeup on TV or film, that's a thing that goes together, right? So like you guys are obviously working together, and I just love to hear more about like how that relationship works and like how you guys kind of collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, we both have such strong ideas of going into it of what we want and what our vision is, and then we have all of our meetings, you know, with Elena, with the other people involved in it. We all have discussions, but in the end, Suzy and I collaborated so well because we respect each other's, you know, jobs and visions and art, and we were able to talk and be like, what she has curls in this, maybe this would look, her hair is up in this, maybe this would be more complementary. And because of that communication, we were just able to work really well and find something that was cohesive and that I think really worked on screen.
Right. It's really important to collaborate with the makeup artist, with Annie, who's so fabulous, and to make sure that everything really works well, like the makeup blends into the sideburns that she's doing, or the hair. And usually we'll take photos, we go to meetings, we have discussions. And then between me and Andy in the trailer, we decide, okay, we're going to like do this, you know, and we got it done. And I think we had so much fun and really a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
With this season too, I mean, like also like the characters obviously, like we said, like evolved. I feel like so much of the season is about like Emily coming to terms with her fame and like what she wants. And I guess like, how did you guys, you know, like, how do you approach that from a, like, how do you, like, she's obviously becoming more confident in herself, let's say, right? And certainly, even though she's still not fully formed or whatever you want to say, I guess, how do you like reflect that in the hair and makeup and like the conversations maybe you had with like Hailee or like you said, Elena, about like kind of like where you were going to take Emily visually?
Well, for the second season, we definitely popped Emily a little bit. You know, she was very, very natural, very, very clean, very, very innocent in the first season. And then as she moved into the second season, she started to get a little bit more of a flush, a little bit of a stronger brow, a little bit, you know, just these tiny little nuances that just helped to give her a little bit more strength. But, you know, honestly, it's all in Hailee's acting. It's in so the writing. So I don't want to say the makeup did so much. You know, it's little things that help the actor feel push that much more. But it's really about just helping the actor any way we can to get into that mode for themselves so they can reflect that on the camera.
And I have a lot to say too. It also goes with the costumes too. When you see a costume like the opera that's huge, you're going to add more. Like her hairstyle in the opera was much more different than anything else. My co-worker, Josh Gerke, did her hair and decided we just went a little bit more softer, upscale, half up, half down work instead of just the bun. So I think between the low bun was when she was a little bit more relaxed, like, and then she became eccentric. And the more she became more eccentric, it became a little bit more.
And the other character I want to talk about was Sue also, because she had such a big evolution, I feel like, between season 1 and 2. Obviously, she was like, you know, in mourning and stuff in season 1, maybe not as elaborately, you know, able to be as, you know, herself or whatever. I guess, can you talk about the being able to, like, you know, work with Ella and stuff on that front too, and like her hair makeup evolution, I guess, on the show?
With her hair, she was like the first season, she was very simple, just a bun or maybe a braid in the back, but we went crazy in the second season with her. We added all kinds of hair pieces and combs, and because in all of her parlor scenes, all of her background people, her friends around her, was so beautifully hairstyled, and makeup was much bigger. Everything was just so different than the first season.
In the first season, you know, we started off with her being orphaned. So she was crying a lot. You know, we didn't have a lot of makeup on her because she was supposed to look like she was depressed and, you know, in that mode. And then the second season, she suddenly becomes this grand lady when she marries Austin, Adrian's character. And so we just made her very clean, very like, we gave her some contour to help give her that like a little bit of sharpness there. So we could see that like she was more pulled together, I guess. And that's where we were able to help a little bit with those tiny pushes, like I was saying before.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because I feel like you said, it's a lot of subtle stuff that helps, you know, like kind of bring the whole thing together. And like, you know, like it's almost like it's weirdly like it's like not like an unseen art, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's like so visible, but it's like it can't be obvious, right? And it's like I'd imagine you guys have to like really toe the line a lot to make sure you're not making it too like, oh, apparent. Like you want people to just feel like this is the character, right? Like I'd imagine.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk the other thing with the show? I mean, like kind of like talk to like like there's a lot of parties, there's a lot of like big scenes, elaborate like kind of like set pieces. I guess can you talk about like having to do the background players and like all the hair and makeup for all of those guys, and like how much detail goes into that as well? Because I was again watching and I'm just like, wow, the amount of like, it's like you feel like you're in the world, and it just is like so like it's just you're just buying the whole thing, and obviously this is a huge production. So I guess can you talk a little about that and getting able to execute on that front, like doing like fleshing out what we're seeing?
Yeah, the background is such an important part of a period piece, especially because it really sets the tone and the set for the main players. We had a huge team. There was a lot of sideburns, a lot of facial hair, a lot of hand laying. It was really beautiful to watch because we had so many incredible department heads, people who usually run their own shows, coming in for the show to lend us their incredible talents. So you see the sideburns and the facial hair, a lot of that is hand laid, individually. A lot of that is pieces. It's not stuff that the actors came in with. So it's really a huge undertaking, but it should be there, but also not distracting. And that's the ultimate goal, is to just set that tone so that you feel it, but you don't necessarily get distracted by it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely I kept my hair a little bit more, definitely more period for the background than in the trailer, but still period in the trailer, but it was matched with the contemporary stuff. But yeah, it was definitely, that really sells the show.
Yeah, it does. I think it really does. I guess for you guys, just broadly speaking, like in your careers, like what's like from a hair, like as hair and makeup department heads and stuff, like what is a misconception maybe that people have about what you guys do, like that you would like find that people are like, oh, they don't actually understand this or whatever. I just wonder if you ever like, or if people approach you and are like, oh, you do hair and makeup, or like what is something that they say that is like not like people don't realize, I guess, about the job?
I would say we have to be their friends. Go ahead, Annie. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have to say the actors have to be your friends. You have to make sure you pamper them and make sure that everybody's treated fairly throughout why they're going through the trailer, why they're going through background. There's a lot of big personalities. So you try and keep yourself together and make sure everybody's happy.
Absolutely. I think it's a lot of times people ask me, do you do everyone's makeup? And I say, nope, I definitely don't do everyone's makeup.
Right,
it is
exactly.
a huge team. It's a huge collaboration. I couldn't do this without everyone else who comes in and works so hard every single day and puts in the hours and is an incredible support to the vision that myself, that Suzy, that the other department heads, that Elena have created. So it's really just understanding that there's a huge amount of people that make this happen. It's not just the department heads. Yes, we have a vision that we are trying to translate to everyone else, and they translate it for us, but it's such a big collaboration amongst many artists that make this happen. It is not just the department head who does the work.
No, exactly. And it's also, they want us to do this very quickly as well. We have to do things very quickly. And so, yeah, sometimes you get a little bit like, oh, that doesn't look good, because you have to do it so fast and you have to get there and get people on set. But at the same time, as long as everybody's happy, you have to, you have to fight your own battles, so you have to go with it.
That's, I mean, that what you just said there, Suzy, was something I've been thinking too, because I'm like, a lot of these shows that we're seeing now, I think like the quality of TV is so improved from when I was a kid, let's say, right?
Yes.
Like just like, it's like they're like almost like 10-hour feature films or whatever it is. And yet it's still on the pace of a TV schedule. So to see the craftsmanship be at the level that it is really incredible, right? Because you're like, I mean, this show looks like a movie would have looked like 20 years ago or whatever, right? And it's a show that we're talking about. No, not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but it's just fascinating to me that you need the level of attention to detail.
You got to think fast and you got to do good,
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of time.
No. Ande and Suzy, thank you so much for doing this. Dickinson season 2, available now on Apple TV+. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
so much.
That was great.